So you just got the big news. It's incredible, right? But then, boom, a million questions hit you all at once. And probably the very first one is, when am I due? That one little question is what kicks off this whole amazing journey. And believe it or not, it all starts with a really simple tool, the pregnancy calculator. So let's dive in and see exactly how it works. Yeah, it's just this huge wave of feelings, isn't it? Pure excitement, maybe a little bit of shock, and a whole lot of, okay, what do I do now? That's totally normal. And that feeling of what's next is exactly why the very first thing we want to do is find some solid ground. Because let's be real, there's so much information coming at you from every direction. You've got appointments to think about, tests, what to eat, what not to eat. It's so easy to feel completely overwhelmed. But what if I told you there's a way to get a kind of roadmap for your entire pregnancy right from the very beginning? That's what we're going to do right now. We'll start with those initial feelings and doubts, then introduce your first essential tool. We'll look at how to actually calculate your due date, and then, the really cool part, how that date becomes a map for your whole pregnancy. We'll also touch on what affects its accuracy, and finally, how to use all this to plan with total confidence. All right, first up, a journey, many doubts. Let's talk about those first feelings. Okay, so what's the solution? Let's bring in your first essential tool, the pregnancy calculator. So what is this thing really? Well, at its heart, a pregnancy calculator is just a simple online tool, but its job is massive. It takes that big question mark and turns it into an actual estimated timeline. It gives you that one crucial piece of information, your estimated due date. And you know what's great? It's not complicated at all. You can get this huge, important answer in literally seconds. Let's see how you do it. Okay, it's super simple, really just 3 steps. First, you just need to pop in a couple of key details. The first day of your last menstrual period, you'll see that abbreviated as DOMA a lot, and how long your cycle usually is. Step 2, you just click Calculate, and bam. Step 3, you get your estimated timeline. The calculator does the math for you, counting forward 40 weeks, or 280 days, from that first day to give you your estimated due date. Easy as... But here's where it gets really, really cool. That date, it's not just the end goal. Think of it as the key that unlocks a full map of your pregnancy. It's the starting point for literally everything that comes next. I mean, think about it. Once you know your gestational age, you're empowered. You can start tracking your baby's development week by week. You'll know when to schedule those important prenatal checkups. You can even start thinking about your nutrition for each specific phase. It puts you in the driver's seat right from the get-go. And just look at this timeline. It's an amazing snapshot of the journey. In just the first 2 months, you've got major organs forming and a tiny heart starting to beat. Incredible, right? Then by month 3, little facial features are developing. And then, before you know it, you get to the part where you might actually feel those first little kicks. This is what makes it all start to feel so real. So let's break it down by trimester. In those first 13 weeks, it's all about building the foundation. So while you might be feeling, well, pretty tired and maybe a bit nauseous, something amazing is happening inside. All the major organs are being built, and that little heart is starting its long marathon. Then you hit the second trimester. People often call this the honeymoon phase, and for good reason. You usually get a boost of energy, the morning sickness fades, and you might get to feel those first amazing little movements. Meanwhile, your baby is busy. Their skeleton is solidifying, their senses are developing, they're even growing hair. And then you're in the home stretch, the third trimester. Okay, so comfort might be a little harder to find, but your body is doing incredible work getting ready for labor. And your baby? They're on the final countdown, gaining weight fast, getting those lungs ready for their first breath of air, and moving into position for the big day. Okay, so this pregnancy map is obviously super helpful, but that brings up a really important question. How accurate is it, really? Let's talk about that, because this is something you'll definitely want to know. So, is the result 100% precise? The honest answer? Nope. It's more of a really good estimate than a crystal ball. But here's why it's so important. It's the standard starting point. Every doctor uses it because it creates a common timeline. It gets you and your entire medical team on the exact same page from day one. Now, there are a few things that can make that estimate a little less accurate. The biggest one is just not remembering the exact date of your last period. It's super common. Also, if you have irregular cycles, not the standard 28 days, or if you happen to ovulate a bit earlier or later than day 14, that can shift the date. Oh, and it's also good to know that if you're going through IVF, there are usually specific calculators that are much more accurate for that process. Which, of course, leads to this very, very common question. What if I can't remember my last period? Seriously, don't worry, this happens all the time. The answer is simple. Don't panic. Just use the closest date you can remember. That'll give you a ballpark figure to start with. And then, this is the important part, your doctor will help you nail it down. They'll usually use an early ultrasound to get a super accurate measurement, which will give you a much more precise due date. So, when you put all this together, what do you get? You get to move from that what do I do now feeling to a place of confidence. You get to start planning with real, actionable information. You're empowered. And really, that's the whole point. It's about turning that initial uncertainty into a solid plan, which just makes the entire journey so much calmer and, honestly, more enjoyable. So think of this calculator as your very first step. It's the tool that gives you the timeline, the milestones, and the structure you need to get ready for this incredible adventure. So, the only question left is, are you ready to map out your journey?